Welcome to the Front Porch podcast. I'm Jessica Alarcon, and I'm here this morning with Emmanuel and Jennifer Massango from the Salvation Army. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's really a pleasure to have you. So just to start, can you tell me a little bit about yourselves, where you came from and how you ended up here in Sacramento?
Sure. Do you want to go first?
No, you can go.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, my name is Emmanuel Massango, and my wife and I have been here in Sacramento for about 4 years. We work with Salvation Army. We do get assigned to different places as part of our job. We were stationed over in Portland area, Oregon, for 9 years, and then about 4 years ago, we got a call to bring us to Sacramento. We've been here since then, and we've grown to love the city, love the community. We're working, especially working here in Oak Park.
I think just to add to that, I came to the Salvation Army working at a summer camp in Spokane, Washington, and I grew to love the ministry of the Salvation Army. We were working with kids that didn't have shoes, didn't have half of the necessities for life, and I just loved it. So I became an officer in the Salvation Army with Emmanuel, and we've loved serving. We love the Sacramento area. We love the sun. After being 9 years in Portland, we say we're drying out still, so we're glad to be here. Thank you.
Very good. So what were your impressions when you arrived here? Did you get to choose to come to Sacramento, or was that something that you were directed, or that's where the opportunity was? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so as Salvation Army officers, we actually get assigned. So you get a phone call and the boss says, hey, your next assignment is going to be in Sacramento. And I'd only been to Sacramento once before and just really passing through. So I didn't really know much about Sacramento, but I've really grown to love the city and what we do here in Oak Park, just the programs and services we provide. We're located on the corner of Alhambra and Broadway. We have a community center there that does a lot of youth basketball programs. And we also have a preschool we're licensed to serve about 65 children. We have an after-school program licensed for 72 kids. And we also have church programs as well. So a lot of really exciting programs serving immediately the Oak Park area as well as the greater Sacramento.
Okay, so what were your impressions when you got here and you were assigned and arrived here in Sacramento?
Well, I'll say my first impression. Maybe Jennifer can share hers. I remember we got off the freeway on X Street, and as we're driving, we're seeing, a lot of homeless people on the streets. We're driving around here, and we're wondering, wow, what's going on in this city? And so for me, the first impression was that there's a lot of need for services and programs for our neighbors in the community. Sometimes we get caught up in, well, why are they on the street, or how did they end up here? But for me, it was this idea that what can we do to help out in this city? I know there's programs going on already in Salvation Army and other programs, agencies providing the services, but what can our part be in helping make a difference?
Yeah, I would say Oak Park is unique in the fact that they want to serve within Oak Park. I've seen so many different services. It's like, let's make Oak Park better. People wanting to pull together as a community. I know for the Salvation Army, we're looking at like a needs assessment to have one professionally done. Like, what else can we provide that's not being provided, and how can we better this community? But yeah, our first impression, it's a lovely area, and we're just thankful to be here.
From your first impressions, has anything changed as you've been here for 4 years now?
I don't know if anything has changed for me. I think I've definitely gotten to love the community more. And then even just getting to know people. I've gotten to know Pastor Mark just over the last year. Great guys wanting to serve our community. I've been able to join the Oak Park Business Association, working with Sean, Rainey, and other people there. Just getting to know the community. And I think what impresses me every time I get to know somebody new is just their love and passion for our community. How can we be better? How can we help overcome the struggles that our neighbors are facing? So if anything has changed, it's just grown to love and appreciate the area more.
So I'm curious, maybe you can tell me a little bit about your upbringings and kind of what led you to this place where you're so interested and where you joined the Salvation Army and you were interested in serving your neighborhoods or their communities. Was there something about the way you grew up that, kind of led you in that direction?
Yeah, I can start with this one. My father died when I was 10 from cancer, and then at 15, my mom got cancer, Yeah, so you can imagine this child being very hopeless, and it got to a part where I actually accepted Jesus into my life, and I felt hope for the first time. And in all of this process of darkness to some light and experiencing who God is, I wanted to serve him, and I didn't know what that looked like, and I didn't know where. But like I said, when I went to go work at the summer camp, I just something clicked in me, like, this is it. I want to do this. And just getting more involved in the Salvation Army and seeing, I always think, man, we could be doing better. We need to do more. So just trying to figure out how can we do more. But the passion, coming from a single parent home, and then dealing with so many different things that I couldn't tell people. We deal with a lot of those kids. They don't always have somebody they can talk to. And so we get to be that for them. So for me, I think the passion is because I was that latchkey kid, and my mom is a survivor today, thankfully.
Oh.
But we work with a lot of kids who are dealing with a lot of the same things, coming to our after-school program and getting to help them with their homework and things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I grew up on the other side of the world. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. My family was very poor. I have 4 siblings, plus my mom and dad. We lived in 2 rooms, not a 2-bedroom house, but just 2 rooms. So we were cramped there. We didn't have a lot of money. My dad was an alcoholic and very abusive. So my home life was upside down. But by the grace of God, I had people that spoke into my life about hope, especially hope in Christ. My mom was a strong believer. But outside of that, we have family and friends that would help us financially or give us clothing or food. It's not a place that has social services like we do here in the West. There's not, government assistance available. So you really rely on the people around you to help you out. And so for me, what makes a difference in Salvation Army is I'm able to serve in a community that has a lot of need, but a lot of generous people willing to give towards social services, such as, what the Salvation Army provides. So when I see kids either in situations like Jennifer just described, or maybe kids that have an upside down home like mine was, I'm able to listen to them and hopefully speak words of hope into them, speak about faith, but not just faith, but you can build something out of your life. Your childhood may be upside down, but you can have people come alongside you and help you make something out of it. My wife and I have been Salvation Army officers 13 years this year. It's been such a joy, such an honor to serve our communities in the different places we've been in. But I think it's because there's people that came to us in our time of need and believed in us and loved us through even some of the difficulties we went through. Sometimes we look at parents and blame them for all the wrong choices they've made. Somebody would say that's a fair statement, but you got kids or other members of the family that are stuck in that situation, not because of their own choosing. And so when we approach people in need, we can't be assuming we know their story. Everybody has a story. But if we're going to ask for their story, are we coming alongside them to help them? Because that's how we can really make a difference.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So what challenges do you see in the Oak Park neighborhood that as a community we can work together to address?
I think there's quite a few things. As Jennifer mentioned a little bit about needs assessments, I've kind of gone online and did some research. Affordable housing is one of the big ones in Sacramento, and particularly in Oak Park, because a lot of families are either unable to pay for the house they own or the places where they're renting. So that's a big challenge. There's a lot of need for, assistance with utilities or other bills that people might have. That's a big challenge. But for me, what brings me hope is there's also a lot of businesses, individuals, agencies that are out here saying, hey, we want to do something. We may not be able to make the problem go away overnight, but we can sure make progress. So I like to not just look at the challenge, but what's the potential solution? When I see people excited to make a difference in Oak Park, I'm like, yeah, we can do this together collectively.
We've also been able to partner with the police department a little bit and getting the police to come out. They come out twice a month, usually. COVID has been a little bit different. But just working with our kids, establishing relationships, answering questions. I will say when they first came to our program, some of the kids wanted nothing to do with them. We even had parents ripping off the sticker the police gave the kids. And But just the police have been really great in working with these kids and saying, you know what? Why don't I have a few of you go in and I'll step out and let's have some real conversation. And some of the kids straight up asking, why do you want to kill us?
Oh, gosh.
And so just like, and so every 2 weeks they were coming out and they were running around with the kids. They were playing with them. They were working with them with their homework, just establishing that like, hey, let's get us an area we can trust each other. I will say even some of our staff who grew up in the Oak Park area said, I'll go to this meeting, but I need you to know that I'm not comfortable. I think, the Sacramento Police Department, they have some work to do in this community. And we've enjoyed being a part of that. It's just a small part. But the police that came out for graduations, they came out for their performances that the kids did. They were introducing the officers to their parents. So it's been really enjoyable to see, also heartbreaking at times when kids had certain questions like that. But I think that's some of the areas I think we can do better in Oak Park also to try to bridge that gap.
Yeah, kind of building trust.
Yeah.
And bridging or allowing a place where the police and the neighbors could come together.
Yeah. We even had a basketball game. We invited our MVPs of the oldest group to come play against the police officers. So the police officers had the full gear. They were ready with their, outfits and stuff, and they played. And so it was good. And then after they had some donuts and stuff together just to, help bridge some of that.
Yeah. So you mentioned things have changed because of COVID. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what some of those changes have looked like for you and how it's affected your ability to, fulfill your mission in the neighborhood.
Wow, yes, lots of changes, and most people are probably saying this about COVID. So the two main programs that are affected adversely is the basketball program that Jennifer mentioned. On a good season, we have as many as 150 kids taking part in the basketball program, learning basic skills, building confidence. So we've had to suspend that over the last year. And then our after-school program, same thing, we've had to suspend that over the last year. Our preschool, thankfully, has remained open. Our numbers went down just because some of the parents had to take their kids out. But we're now starting to build back up again. We're starting to see some parents bringing the kids back as the community is opening up a little more. We also have some plans for summer day camp coming up in the summer and then reopening the after-school program in the fall. So we've definitely had to make some adjustments. But if anything, COVID has taught us that we can be flexible. We may not want to be, but we can be flexible. And then for the first 3 months, especially when COVID hit, we were doing a weekly food box distribution where people just drive through, get a food box. We didn't expect that. I think with the first couple Wednesdays, we were 300-400 people showing up. Again, it showed the need that was in the community. But for me, the other side of it, how we could step in and help, fill that need. Now that things are starting to get better, we're still getting, I think, 25 to 30 families coming once a week to get a food box. So it shows that the need has gone down significantly, but we're still able to do something, providing that assistance to our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we started those food boxes March 16th of last year. So we were right on it.
You were early.
Not thinking there was going to be very many people. And before we knew it, the line was around the corner.
Wow. That must have been overwhelming that first week.
We were ready for like 200 boxes, I think, the first day. And we were like, we need to at least double this. But, just people rolling down their window just enough to put their hand out for us to like pray with them. Or it's just like crying. And, it was a scary time, I think, for everybody. But yeah, COVID's definitely changed a lot. But it's given us opportunity to redo and rethink how we do things and figure out a better way. We are starting back the basketball program starting next month, but it's going to look a little different, more of a skills camp type thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had much interest yet?
The coaches are ready to come back. Okay. I think they're like, they enjoy being in the community. We have volunteer coaches, so they're all like, call me back. When are you ready? So, our coaches are ready, and we've had a few families start approaching us about getting their kids involved. And
Okay.
so
Well, that's great. So what do you think the opportunities are moving forward as things, maybe slowly start to change again and open up? Where do you see opportunities to get involved with the neighborhood and for maybe the neighborhood to get involved with you guys a little more?
I think definitely several opportunities. We, like I mentioned, we're going to be doing a summer day camp program. It's going to be obviously modified still right now as things stand, still needing to do the social distancing and masks and things like that. Like I said, we typically do about 60 to 70 kids after school program. I'm sorry, for the summer day camp, this year we're looking at do maybe 30 to 40. So we're still serving the community, but maybe at a smaller scale just to make sure everybody's safe. So that's an area where if any parents are looking for something productive for their kids to do during the summer, that's going to be out there. I know there's discussions to get the First Fridays going again in Oak Park. We've taken part in that in the past and would love to be a little more involved. So at this point, we're trying to find ways that we can reconnect to the community or have the community connect with us. In the past, we've hosted an employment hiring day at our facility here in our gymnasium and a couple other programs. So we're looking forward to when we're able to host things, on a larger scale to make our community center available to our community.
Okay. So I didn't know you were involved in First Fridays. What was your involvement?
It was actually us starting off. I think it was in 2019. We basically just had a booth saying, here's Salvation Army, we're here. Like I mentioned earlier, the preschool, a lot of parents are paying very minimal amount of money for preschool or nothing depending on their income. We have 3 boys, so we know it's expensive to have your kids in after school care or preschool. And so this is an opportunity for families to find something affordable. So we're now taking, more applicants. Preschool takes kids ages 3 through 5. So if there's anybody in the Oak Park area interested in that kind of care, that's available. Very simple application process that helps us see where they qualify depending on their income. So definitely a lot of opportunity for us to hopefully make a difference in our community and our community join hands with us as we serve others.
Got it. So as a resident of the neighborhood, and what do you think? What could you tell me? What are the needs you see that people who just live here? What can we do you think, to help our neighbors with just the various needs that you've seen and come across during this time?
This might sound very simplistic, but hope. We need to be able to speak hope. Sometimes I was thinking of a program or service that's going to cost so much money or so much time. But just speaking words of hope to others, for me, it makes a big difference, whether we're speaking to the life of a child in the preschool, a kid playing basketball, or an adult who's struggling, finding a place to live. Just being able to stop and talk to somebody and talk about hope, I think that's a big difference that we can make. And then obviously we also have to talk about some of the practical things to say, hey, can you join us as a volunteer? We have a basketball program coming. Would you like to be a coach? Somebody willing to step up and do that, or help mentor a child in the after-school program, or hey, I have a little bit of money I want to donate. What can I, what can I do? Where can I put this? So I think there's just many different ways of being involved and working together. But some of it is really basic, like talking to people and encouraging people. Most of us like to be affirmed. As adults, we don't usually admit that openly, but we all like to be affirmed that if we're doing a good job or if we're making a difference in our community. It's a really, really good time to do that.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Jennifer?
No, I think he covered it. Good job.
Speaking words of hope, and no, that's interesting. I don't know. It's probably not a high traffic area where you're at with residents, but I've definitely, as I've been here for the last year, and I've been home more. I've seen a lot more of my neighbors, and certainly a lot more of their children and grandchildren, looking for something to do, and especially when a lot of the opportunities for people to go or things to do, it's kind of like, all right, well, what can we do besides, get off my lawn?
Right. I think it's being aware of resources, right? I know even just some of the agencies close to us, there's been a few of us we've been able to meet and be like, okay, that's what you provide. Okay, I'm going to send people your way. But even as a resident of Oak Park, know what your resources are. So when you're talking to your neighbor, you can offer something
Yeah.
to meet the need. And
Yeah.
it gives hope, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, there might be something out there
It
for me.
does. Well, I think one of the things that's been interesting and it's been a lot more recent is noticing the neighbors kind of sharing. And my kids have been begging me forever, and we finally had the opportunity to build a little free library up front.
So cute. I
We
saw that.
coming in. Yeah.
But one of the things I've noticed, and I'm not always sure what neighbors it is, that people started putting extra food out on top of there, and it disappears eventually sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always when it's perishable, and I think there were a couple of things that were perishable that I think that whoever put it out there eventually took it back because it was running out of its life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you think too, I mean, in this last year, we've seen people delivering toilet paper to their neighbors, right? They had extra. Or, shopping for them or picking up hand sanitizer. It's just been a different year for everybody. But I think as a community, when we pull together, we're stronger. We're stronger for it.
Yeah, no, and it's been nice to see. I think it's taken a lot of people. People seem to be wanting to connect more, and it's been interesting to watch the neighbors kind of try and work out how that might be, especially when people are still very concerned, about gathering or.
For sure.
Or necessarily going too close. So I'm just curious. I've been wondering, I've seen a lot of that with adults, and I've watched the children in the neighborhood kind of just try to, okay, we need to find people, they're looking for more connection beyond Zoom, because as efficient as it is for getting some things done, people are starting to they've been missing, and they're starting to be impatient for some of the things that the kind of connection that Zoom can't provide. Kind of in this interim where people are starting to feel more comfortable, but, things aren't open. How do you see your organization, changing and moving and facilitating, moving back into that space?
I think we have a couple of things. I don't know if we mentioned them already in the program. So our basketball program usually takes place indoors, but what we're exploring for this spring is actually do that outside in the parking lot. So hopefully those families that are saying, I'm not comfortable with my kid being inside a building, they can come outside, and basketball is going to be in the parking lot. So it's going to feel like street basketball maybe, but just this idea of trying to get people together, but still at a level where they're comfortable. Because a lot of us think we're going to go from to what things are right now to hugging and sitting right next to people. It's actually, for a lot of people, it's going to take a while to feel that comfortable. So we're just doing things outside. We're going to do a soccer skills clinic. Usually only do basketball, but just trying to do something different that still allows people to be together, even though it's going to be a little bit distance, and also outside and in smaller groups than we usually run. So that's some of the things we're trying to do. Right now for our church, we're meeting outside in our parking lot rather than being indoors, even though we have a lot of people ready to be indoors. But we also know we have a segment of the population that are not ready to be too close to other people. So we're just trying to find that balance of saying, okay, we can be completely isolated and we're not ready to share hugs already, but let's find a middle ground. And sometimes I know middle ground is hard because we want to be here or there. But I think part of our role as leaders is to try to create that environment, that safe space for people to meet and feel comfortable, and hopefully get closer as time goes on.
Got it. Have you found any challenges? I know that, like you said, people are all over the spectrum with where they're at to, with what they're comfortable with. Have you found any challenges kind of working with people to, accommodate each other and kind of find the middle ground where, okay, we can all live with this?
I've been trying to be kind of more the lead in talking, because sometimes when we talk it's awkward, right? If my best friend has their views over here and mine is over here, it's almost would rather not talk because we don't want to end up in something. So what we try to do as leaders is just to try bring people together and encourage the positive side of things. One of my phrases I've been saying to myself and our team is we know everything we cannot do, but there's plenty of what we can do. So let's focus on what we can do, not on what we cannot do. Because what we cannot do is frustrating, right?
Yeah.
We're just wanting to end today. But let's focus on what we can do. Yes, I could meet my friend in the park. We could record a podcast out in the backyard. So focus on the things that you can do. And I think generally we'll be happier that way if we focus on what we can do rather than be frustrated with what we cannot.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're like, he's got it.
I know, very well worded.
No, I think it's been a year of everybody, being creative, flexible, kind of being accommodating.
Yeah.
With
Change every turn, right?
right.
Yes.
Changes, and then, it's been a rough year for people to, try and work through, having different opinions and differences, what do you think gives you the most? You were talking earlier about speaking hope into people's lives, What gives you the most hope for Oak Park for the future?
Did you make go
I
first?
know, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
He does better on the fly.
Again, this sounds simplistic, but I'm going to say people. We need people. We need each other. We're built to need people. We're built to need community. That's why your families, your friends, your people you work with. So I think when we're able to gather like this, that helps us make a difference. We're giving hope to other people. We're getting hope for ourselves while we're doing that. So for me, part of my excitement is getting to know more and more people here in Oak Park, getting to know, Pastor Meek and a few different people I've gotten to meet, especially in the last 2 years. To me, it's like, wow, these people love what they do. They love their community. They want to make a difference. For the most part, that's what our community is, people that want to make a difference for their kids, for their grandkids, but make a difference for themselves. One of my favorite stories from a couple years ago was a lady I talked with. She said her son played basketball in our gym, but now her son is in his 20s, but her grandson is playing basketball in the gym. I was like, wow, this is generations of getting together and having fun. And so for me, that's what makes a difference, when we can all come together and speak words of hope to each other, or work together, but actually creating that hopeful environment. I think that keeps me going.
Very good.
I think it's just creating community. Like you said, the Zoom, it only goes so far.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of neighbors have reverted to being with each other and to figure out, pods, what they call them, pods, right? People working together and kind of keeping their friends, okay, let's just do this, but we'll do it in a safe way. And I think as we move forward and people get more comfortable, people will kind of come out, and I think we'll be strong. We'll make it through it. But hope, yes. Hope is good. It's what we need it.
So thank you both very much for coming and talking to me today and just sharing about yourselves and what you do. I appreciate it. And
Thank you for having us.
yes.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.